Hello and welcome to the second part of the overview of the Unreal Tournament 3 Style Mutator pack for Unreal Tournament 2004, version Beta 4. In this part, I'll go into more detail about the changes made to the vehicles. The main changes that are readily apparent are to the vehicle meshes. Now, all of the Axon vehicles use the same meshes as in UT3. That's a bigger change than one would expect, because in UT2004 the vehicle mesh actually affects the vehicle physics. The vehicles might look rather small now, but that is due to scale differences. Players in UT3 are smaller than in UT2004, or in UT4 for that matter. However, the UT3 vehicles still take about the same amount of space as the UT2004 vehicles they're replacing, and scaling them up would create issues when spawning vehicles in tight spots. Thanks go to 100G ping 100 for the base meshes for most of the vehicles, as well as for making some of the animations work. Additional thanks go to Parkus G, who helped in converting vehicle meshes to match the UT2004 workflow in regards to vehicle-mounted turrets. Most vehicles also received adjustments to their headlights and brake lights to match the new meshes. The way they were implemented in UT3 was through materials, a luxury that can be afforded in Unreal Engine 2. But UT2004 already has a much more advanced and flexible method for drawing them as separate flare effects, so that's what was used. Vehicle sounds were also reviewed. The Hellbender and the Scorpion now play sliding sounds, like in UT3. Interestingly enough, the sliding sound capability was already in UT2004. But the sounds were so soft and were said to have so low volume that they were practically inaudible. Some of the vehicles, like the Hellbender, Leviathan, and particularly the Hellfire SBMA, in UT3 have things mounted on and attached to their tires. In UT2004, everything attached to the tires rotated together with the tires, which causes a problem. Also, most of the functions that should allow manually adjusting part rotation don't actually work on the same coordinate systems. I had to come up with a makeshift solution, but it's not ideal and you can still see artifacts of it, like the fenders on the Hellfire SBMA vibrate while moving. There were some changes to vehicle mechanics as well. The Raptor's turret is now visible and is able to rotate, but within certain confines, so applied momentum can temporarily disrupt the vehicle while it adjusts itself back. The Cicada's main turrets have the same properties as well. The Leviathan also got a facelift, and that includes the deployment and undeployment animations, as well as drivers actually shown and able to get shot in the outside turrets. Players can no longer fire while deploying, too, and have a zoom in option, since the deployment button was moved to the spacebar. The bot AI in the Leviathan got a few tweaks as well. The Scorpion had some adjustments made to its boosting code. You now need to be moving, or more precisely, you have to have the vehicle's gear set high enough, although gear changes are never shown graphically in either game, in order to start the boost. The boost is also less wacky now, in that its strength depends on the vehicle's movement speed at the moment of boosting. It can now also boost while in mid-air, but quite a bit weaker than it does while on ground. While boosting, steering the Scorpion is much more difficult, like in UT3, and you can no longer start spinning while in the air. Another important change is that the eject button was changed from the spacebar to the exit vehicle button, which means that if you're boosting, you have to stay in or eject. You can no longer exit the vehicle without detonating it. The detonation itself no longer hurts the instigator, as opposed to the previous betas where it was practically suicide. The Manta not only has a new mesh, but also all of its animations, including the fan blades spinning and the wings moving up and down while jumping or falling, all thanks to jeeping. Also, the projectiles that the Manta shoots no longer do splash damage. That means you have to hit the enemy directly in order to do damage, but it's not that hard in comparison. And a side effect of this change is that you can no longer hurt yourself by firing at a nearby wall or a power core. The Goliath's treads now rotate at the actual speed of movement, which is most obvious when moving slowly. Same thing with SBMA's treads. Even though in UT2004 the SBMA was a wheeled vehicle, in UT3 it's a half-track, which did pose some problems since Unreal Engine 2 has no concept of actual treads. However, neither does Unreal Engine 3. In both UT3 and now in UT2004, the treads are emulated by wheels. The Hellfire SBMA also received some important AI fixes. In previous betas, bots would deploy and do nothing, or sometimes fire cameras but never deploy them. This was all fixed in Beta 4, and bots use the SBMA very smartly now. Perhaps too smartly. What is more, a new mutator called UT3 Hoverboards was added to the pack. As the name implies, it adds hoverboards to vehicular game types. You can call up a hoverboard by pressing your translocator button at any time, except if you're underwater, obviously, and it helps you move around faster, in exchange for the ability to fire weapons. You can get off the hoverboard by pressing either the translocator button or the use button. If you get hit, or hit yourself due to falling or whatnot, You fall off the board and get ragdollized for a bit. Also, being over water makes the board move slower. Thanks go to Whale of Suicide for the base hoverboard class, and Con 4 for the ragdollization effect base. Lastly, there is another mutator included in the pack, called UT3 Necros vehicles. This mutator replaces the stock UT2004 vehicles with highly experimental Necros vehicles done by Jeeping. They are not ready for use, but are included as a sneak peek at what the status of the Necros vehicles is at this point in time. Do note that unlike the weapon mutators, vehicles were not tested online, so they will likely not work, or at least not work well, in network games at the moment. In general, refrain from putting this version of the mod on HTTP redirects, or be ready to change the files, as it might be updated in the future. Speaking of which, if you're hosting a server, don't forget to add not only UT3 Style, but also UT3 Common to your network packages, as the mod has been split into 3 packages starting from this beta. That's all for the overview of the UT3 Vehicles Mutator Pack for UT2004. The download link, as well as the link to the overview of the weapons, is in the description of this video. Thanks for watching.